Welcome back, everybody. Time for some more Victory at Sea Pacific, and I want to take a look at the situation as it is here in late January of 1943. We have an atomic bomb waiting to be transported so we can use it on a B-29 somewhere. I don't know if I get more of those or how exactly that works. We still hold Truk Lagoon, but there is a carrier task force headed that way along with a couple of destroyer forces. Defending, I have a pretty decent fleet of air power that I could probably contend with one single carrier. I've also got a battleship fleet here that I'm going to send out to go deal with these destroyers while we wait for the carrier fleet to come in. The Japanese still hold the Solomons all the way down to New Caledonia. They hold Northern Australia and, of course, everything over here, including the Philippines. We just finished up building the Hornet and the Iowa, and they are setting sail for Midway, and then we'll decide where we want to take them from there. We also have Task Force 54 here in the North Pacific that's headed for the Marshall Islands, and that includes the Monaghan and the South Dakota and a bunch of destroyers and light cruisers. In fact, some of those destroyers I probably should distribute elsewhere. We've got still 8 carriers, basically about 40 ships here. We took out the 4 carriers here, so if you count the 4 carriers up here in the Commander Islands, you've got 8 more carriers here, another carrier here, that's 13. There were 4 more here, that's 17. I had already sunk 11 before that. That's already, as of January 1943, that we know of, almost 30 Japanese carriers. The Japanese never had that many carriers by the end of the war, so we're obviously facing a kind of a fictional number of carriers and ships, but that's the reality. I haven't built nearly that many, but we've done a pretty good job. We've only lost, I think, 2 so far. Alright, well, this should be a pretty easy battle. We're headed toward 3 destroyers, and we're doing so with 5 battleships and a heavy cruiser. We've got the Colorado, the Tennessee, the Maryland, the Hermione, the North Carolina, and the Chicago. Alright, we've begun firing already. I don't imagine this will last very long. I'm honestly surprised they're headed toward me. Surprised we haven't really hit anything. Well, we're hitting the guy in the back. We ought to be going for the guy in the front that might be trying to get some torpedoes on us. Really not sure why we're not. There we go. Now we are. Bye-bye. Okay, we got 2 of them. We're about to finish the 3rd. Oh, enemy fleet destroyed near the Caroline Islands. Understatement of the century. So I just realized we already have a Hornet, and it named this new one Hornet as well. So, you know, it seems to me that's the kind of simple little thing that they ought to be able to fix in the game without much trouble, so that ships don't get named the same as other ships. But we currently don't have an Enterprise, so it feels like that's probably what we should name this one to replace the Enterprise that we lost. Alright, we destroyed that 2nd fleet at the Caroline Islands. Now what I want to do is it was a 2nd group of destroyers, it wasn't anything major. I want to look here. We're still waiting. I don't think we have any kind of supplies right now at Truk Lagoon. That's a bit of a problem. So we've got 101 cargo ships inbound. We're definitely going to need those. So we can't really get these B-29s rebuilt. Same with my Hellcats, and I'm going to need those planes if this carrier fleet decides to head this direction. In the meantime, we're just about ready to go with all these carrier groups. I'm going to leave one of them behind at Wake, but the rest I'm going to send out to go hunting here. We're going to take out all of these fleets if we possibly can. You can see there's 8 carriers, plus this fleet that used to have 4 carriers, and we're going to try to take out as much of that as we can. Alright, there's at least one more carrier down here, maybe more, because we've got 15 Imperial Japanese Navy dive bombers coming up north near the Gilbert Islands, so there's obviously something else going on there, and they're going after this British force. Our force, our carriers, minus the Saratoga, which we've left at Wake Island for now, are getting within striking distance of this carrier task force. So we're going to see what happens here soon. Okay, so we've put out some fighters. We're going to see if we can intercept these dive bombers here. And then we're going to come in at this guy. So this is what it looks like when you have 6 carriers against 4 carriers and everybody's sending out all their planes. And this is going to determine what happens after this. Now my dive bombers keep going out and I keep telling them not to. But these are Helldivers and I feel like they might be able to hold their own against his fighters and maybe give me some additional firepower against those fighters. Worst case scenario, we just send ourselves back to port and we get rebuilt again. Okay, so here's what the situation looks like right now. In the combat screen, you can see both fleets within sight almost of each other, a ton of planes in the air, and I'm really not sure how many, if any of them, are going to get within range of any of these ships, but we're going to do our best to try and get some of these guys at his carriers if at all possible. So it looks like we got some Corsairs in the air right now. Here comes some Helldivers. Looks like they're all kind of by themselves, though. You can see planes going down. I really, at this point, have no idea how this is all going to shake out. And looks like he's getting some more zeros in the air. I'm going to try to order some of these Helldivers to get at one of his carriers if I can. But it looks like a lot of them have already gone with their payload. Maybe not. Alright, let's see if these boys can get in there. Looks like the Akagi's almost down. So let's see if we can finish them off. I don't know if we'll get dive bombers through, because you can see he's circling the wagons. And it's going to be tough to get at any of these carriers right now. But if I could finish off the Akagi, that would be outstanding. Only take a couple more hits to do it. Come on, baby, get through. Oh, those bombs would have done it too, but they all missed. Darn it. But you can see here, I've still got a ton of planes headed that direction. We're winning the air war right now against his fighters. So hopefully we can get some more in there and on target. I'm just going to keep on the combat screen. I'm just going to watch everything kind of coming in, even though a lot of these are returning right now. I just want to see if we can take out any of these guys. There's 2 Akagis in this fleet. There we go. Oh no! More misses. Oh, so frustrating. So right here you can see all 4 carriers. Akagi, Zuikaku, Shokaku, and another Akagi here. They do like to reuse those names. We got some Hellcats coming in here. Okay, while all that's going on, I'm looking at this carrier task force here, and I'm feeling like a task force with 5 battleships, a heavy cruiser, and a light carrier, the Belleau Wood, ought to be able to take that group on. So let's go ahead after him. All we need to worry about is the air power that comes from that one carrier. Alright, we just created another task force at Truck Lagoon. Or is that that might be the one from the Belleau Wood. He just now catching up to telling me that. I think that's what happened there. So we are sending in 6 torpedo bombers, 6 dive bombers right behind that. We'll see if they have any luck. I'd very much like to take out that carrier, if that's at all possible. So he's getting his planes up in the air now, so that's going to become a problem for me. I don't know what these Avengers are doing. I told them to go after the carrier. They may not even get that close if these Zeros come in after me. I guess we're trying to come in around his destroyer cover if possible. I don't feel like that's the way to do it. We're going to all get shot down before we ever get our torpedoes in the water. And that's exactly what happened. Oh, they should have gone around the rest of the way. The carrier was all the way in the back. Alright, the good news is my fighters took out the bombers that he was sending my way. I don't know that my dive bombers did anything, but that's okay. Alright, let's go ahead and get... Oh, we do have another task force. The Mobile and the Birmingham were created. So let's get them merged into this Able Squadron. That'll give me a little bit of protection against the air power that's coming at me. Alright, let's take this guy out. Alright, he's coming in with a couple of Kates. We'll see where they put their torpedoes. I don't really have a lot of protection against them at the moment. I've got the Mobile right out front. Brand new light cruiser. Let's get them moving. Just because I don't know where he's going to put his torpedoes. Oh yeah, look at that anti-aircraft fire. That's beautiful. Bye-bye, all of you. So hopefully he didn't get any torpedoes in the water. Alright, over here at Mare Island, the USS Franklin is our new carrier, and we've got 3 destroyers along with it, and we're going to go ahead and collect the atomic bomb components. We're going to have to get those to an island that are within bombing range of Japan, and that also means that we need to be able to clear the path for bombers to hit Japan. So that's where we're going to need something like Iwo Jima or Tinian. Tinian's where the atomic bomb attack was launched from, so that's within range of being able to hit Japan, but I just don't feel like we're ready to do that yet. We're getting our carriers refit again before I send them back out. He started running and I just couldn't catch him. Same thing with this guy here. He started running with this fleet as well, and my battleships just weren't fast enough to catch up to him. Alright, well, for some reason whenever I would go into the combat screen to try and fight that fleet, it would get away from me and I couldn't catch it, but when I went out of the combat screen they seemed to turn around and let me fight them, and so we were able to go ahead and destroy that carrier task force. So that's another Japanese carrier that's been taken out. We just didn't get to watch it live, that's all. Let's see what's happening up here. We've got to start moving from Wake and start thinking about trying to take Tinian if at all possible. And I'm just waiting for the Monaghan task force to hit the Marshall Islands. Oh, we've got an assault on Tarawa. That's another hard-fought place that we didn't want to lose. And he's just got one carrier there. We ought to be able to deal with that. So let's go ahead and let's see how the Monaghan task force is doing. Looks like they're pretty well okay on supplies. So we're going to go ahead and divert them to the Gilbert Islands to make sure that we either take those back or defend them effectively. Alright, so he took Tarawa. We're going to have to take it back with the Monaghan task force. I'm sending out Task Force 51, which is my battleship force, to intercept this cargo ship and ammunition ship. We'll do a little convoy raiding here. It seems like this is a place that he's doing a lot of his resupply. So what did we just spot up here near the Marshall Islands? 5 destroyers. Okay, not a big deal. Monaghan task force is in that area. We want to be careful with Wolfpack Charlie that they don't run too close to those destroyers. Monaghan task force should be able to retake Tarawa because he's well, now that he took Tarawa, he's getting out of there with that carrier task force. All right, level bombers from the Marshall Islands took care of business with those destroyers that were there. We're still working our way toward making a toll. It looks like this British cargo ship fleet's going to probably have some trouble running into them there. All right, we'll get Monahan down here. Where's that happening? Oh, okay, he's sending a bunch of torpedo bombers in at my task force fleet over here. The Washington, the Baltimore, and the J.A. Morris. That's a concern of mine. I think we'll go ahead and pull back the rest of the way if we can. Alright, we've caught up once again to one of his carrier fleets, and they're pretty far away from mine at the moment, but I don't see any of his bombers in the air, so hopefully we can sneak in and maybe get a couple of hits. Alright, we've spotted 6 subs pretty close to carrier group B, so what I'm going to do here is I'm breaking off a task force 60, the O'Bannon, the Softly, the Chevalier, and the Nicholas, and we're going to go after those subs with my destroyers. In the meantime, I'm sending Task Force 51 up here to kind of rendezvous with these carrier groups, and then we're going to launch a major attack on Tinian and see if we can take it out. Alright, well, we took care of those subs and didn't lose any of my destroyers in the process, so we'll go ahead and get those destroyers merged back into the larger force, which we're now going to go ahead and start moving toward Tinian. Okay, so currently docked at Tinian are 8 carriers along with 32 destroyers and a number of light cruisers, battleships, heavy cruisers. I don't have that much firepower, and my fear is that they're docking right now and they're repairing all of the planes that I took out. I feel like I've probably got to hit them now, or I might lose my chance to do it later. So I'm going to start moving in. I'm going to start sending my planes, starting at the back with Carrier Group B. We're going to try to strike these guys in the port if we can. We're going to have to be really careful with this, and it's going to have to be really coordinated or it's not going to work. Alright, while we're waiting to attack Tinian, we're sending the Monahan Task Force, and we've retaken Tarawa. And we're going to go ahead and just park there for now. It really didn't put up too much resistance there. He may send a carrier task force back to try and take it again, but what I'm doing now is I'm merging, I'm getting all these fleets in this general area. I'm hoping to bring him out away from Tinian. Tinian is a basic port, so I might not have too much in the way of anti-air defense, but I know he's probably reloaded all his planes that I shot down, so I'm gonna have to do this all over again, taking out his air power before I can send in anything to try and deal with his carriers. Alright, we've got a huge number of fighters headed toward a smaller number of his fighters. So hopefully we start taking out his fighter cover right here and we plow the road and give ourselves a clear path to try and get at some of these other ships. Not sure why some of my torpedo bombers are still heading in there. We got to take these fighters out. So we'll see what the end result is of all of this. I wish there was a way that you could actually see, okay, how many of ours we lost, how many of his he lost in this time frame here. And now that we're clearing the path, hopefully we can start sending out what we need to take out these carriers. Alright, so I've decided that to take on something like Tinian with 8 aircraft carriers there, I really want to be able to overwhelm and just annihilate, because Tinian's going to be the big step toward Iwo Jima and then eventually the mainland of Japan. So we're going to pull back these carrier groups to Truk Lagoon. We're going to get them refit, resupplied. We're going to try to take out this fleet over here with the 16 destroyers, 2 light cruisers, 2 heavy cruisers, 2 battleships. And I'm going to wait and see if maybe he splits these carriers and goes on the offensive. And if he does, we'll catch him out in the open and we'll take one of them out. Alright, well, you can see how many planes I've got coming at this fleet. We're going to see if we can take this whole thing out in maybe 2 rounds of fighting. I think that ought to be enough, but you know, you never know with these things and how they work. So I'm going to go in here and zoom in on the fleet, and we're just going to watch And I'm not going to do anything to give any kind of orders. I'm just going to let my planes come in and do their thing. He's running away. Trying to get away from my planes. Looks like we got some torpedoes in the water. There go dive bombers. We took out one. Excellent start. As long as we're taking out ships, I'm not nearly as concerned with what we're taking out. As long as we're scoring hits. Because every time we score a hit and we sink something, that's a little bit less that he's able to shoot me down with. He's got so many destroyers in this fleet. Bunch of torpedoes in the water. I don't know if we're going to hit anything with them. We might be getting this guy here. Battleship. Yep, he's going to turn right into those torpedoes. Bye-bye. Torpedo bombers did their jobs. Very nice. And here comes some more Helldivers. Not sure where they're headed this time. Heavy cruiser, completely missed him. That time we didn't, and we sunk him. Excellent. So a good start. In fact, if we go back out here and look, you can see that we've taken out all the heavy cruisers, all the battleships, and we've left, so we took out 2 battleships, 2 heavy cruisers is what it is. Now we leave the smallest 18 ships, but we're going to just keep going after him until he's finished. And we've nearly done it. Down to just the 5 destroyers and 1 light cruiser, and there they are. So once you take out the carriers, the rest are pretty easy to deal with. So let's go ahead and continue our resupply mission. I think we'll sit tight at Truk Lagoon and try to do some more convoy raiding, because he's definitely sending a lot of resupply in this direction. And then we'll get a few more carriers finished building. I've got 6 or 7 more carriers on the way, either already headed this direction or being built currently. So that'll hopefully give me the force I need to deal with him. So while we're waiting for Carrier Group B to get down to Truk Lagoon, we're going to go ahead and send Task Force 51 over here to take out these 10 cargo ships, an oil tanker, an ammunition ship, and 2 destroyers. And for now, I think that's what we're going to do. Is I'm going to hold off. I'm going to mass a bunch of carriers in Wake, Marshall, and Truk. And then we're just going to send an overwhelming force at the Mariana Islands. Take Guam and Tinian. Hope that maybe he sends these carrier groups out and we can maybe isolate and destroy one of them that way. And wait for Truk Lagoon to be resupplied. That's the other thing, because right now it's not. It took a lot of damage when I attacked it, and we're still getting it rebuilt. We're far from complete on that, but we've got 172 cargo ships inbound. So sometimes I just need to sit back and wait and let things happen. Well, now that this British group came in, there's 10 cargo ships and an oil tanker came into Truk Lagoon, you can see we finally have some stores there. We've got fuel, which we're starting to take up right now. We've got shells, we've got bombs, rations, everything we need to resupply our fleet. Alright, the Monaghan Task Force has engaged an enemy fleet of 5 destroyers outside of Tarawa. Didn't even see them coming in, but they should take care of business there with little trouble, I would think. We'll just go ahead and watch how that turns out. Yep, there they go. I'd love to see the total numbers right now as far as what we've taken out overall. Let's go ahead and take a look at a few of our fleets and see what we've been able to do. So I'm going to look at the battleship fleet first. The Colorado, they've sunk 2 cruisers, 2 carriers, a torpedo boat, 6 destroyed struckers, and 6 destroyers sunk. The Maryland has sunk a cruiser and 9 destroyers and a battleship. The Tennessee has sunk 11 destroyers, a battleship, and 2 cruisers. North Carolina, 2 cruisers, a carrier and a battleship and 6 destroyers. So my goodness, it's just massive. Hermione, a cruiser and a destroyer. Birmingham, 2 cruisers. Mobile, a cruiser. The Belleau-Wood has destroyed 10 aircraft, and the Chicago has destroyed 11 aircraft, 5 structures, and a torpedo boat. So that's just one fleet. That's my battleship fleet. So we're going to wrap this episode up here in just a minute. I know not a lot of action this time around, but I think I understand what I'm up against as far as the huge force of carriers that the Japanese are going to continue to throw at me. So I realize now that I'm just going to have to build massive amounts myself and overwhelm him. So let's take a look right now over in San Diego. We've got 2 Essex-class carriers and 2 Northampton-class heavy cruisers being built. Mare Island, we've got a South Dakota battleship. Let's go ahead and queue up another Essex-class carrier there. Puget Sound, 2 more Essex-class carriers. So that gives me 5 total being built at the moment. Pearl Harbor, nothing currently being built there. I think maybe we'll look at some more oil tankers and cargo ships. And then Truck Lagoon, we have an Independence class light carrier and a Baltimore class heavy cruiser currently being built, and I'm looking to see. I don't think there's anything I can upgrade. Alright, so that's where we're at. In addition to the 6 carriers I'm currently building, we still have the Enterprise right here at Midway, along with the Iowa, and they've also got, well, they're actually going past Midway, they're headed toward Wake. They've also got the atomic bomb on board. We've got Wolfpack Charlie, which really hasn't done a lot. We're going to get a little closer here, and then we're probably going to turn around with them back toward the Marshalls. Task Force 57 is the Franklin, so that's another carrier that's headed toward Wake right now. Oh, wait, that's the one we already looked at. What's 55? 55's at Midway. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and send them toward Wake as well. Monaghan Task Force. And then carrier groups A, B, and C each have 3. So I've got 6, 7, 8, 9 carriers. 10 with the Saratoga. So 10 fleet carriers plus a few light carriers right now. And 6 more on the way. So that's going to give me much better odds, I think, moving forward. But let me know your thoughts about all that. We're into March of 1943 now. And we're just going to try to build up those carriers and send them all out right in here to Wake, Marshall, and the Carolines. We'll get Truck Lagoon built back up, get that airport ready to go, and then that air power can assist any actions on Tinian. So use the comment section below, let me know your thoughts, and we will be back in a couple days with another episode. Thanks for watching.